Okay, it's 1:02. I'm calling the meeting to order. I'm going to read the announcement. This is Mickey Rowland, Chair of the Historic Structures Advisory Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your members, when I call your name, please respond. Lucy?
Yes.
Angus?
Here.
And there's no staff and no anticipated speakers. This meeting's of the HSAB is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. For this meeting, HSAB is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please know this meeting is being recorded and each vote taken at the meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. So I'm going to adopt the agenda as it's written without changes and ready to go. So first on the agenda is 37 West Chester Street. Share. That's not it. This is. Okay. 37 West Chester. This is on the corner of Westchester and North Liberty. Oh, Jason's here. Sarah.
Oops. And Sarah Alger is just coming in.
She's just joining. Yes, thanks. Hi, Jason. You're there, but you're muted.
We can't hear you.
I have a new computer, so I'm dealing with that. We
Working.
have class all week at Mitchell House, so I'm on tour duty, so I might have to get up. Just FYI.
Okay.
I apologize.
I'm glad you could make it. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Hi.
Okay. All right. So 37 Westchester. We saw this before, and I'm going to show you what they had originally submitted, which was right here facing the street, which was really not great. So they've come back with this much better approach, which I'm glad they did. Much more appropriate. And generally happy with that. I have a couple other little issues. Does anybody want to make a comment about this before I go ahead?
Well, yeah, Nikki, it would be nice in an application like this to have the original application form filled out so that we could be reminded of some of the details, for instance, paint, windows, all that stuff.
Yes, they usually do include it, but you're right. Every now and then it doesn't get included. I don't know why, but
Can you make a notation on that on our comments, please?
yeah, I mean, that's really probably to the staff to make sure that they include that.
Mickey, could you please check the or pull up the second page with more of the photographs around?
Yeah. Is this what you're looking for?
I think it's the second page of the packet.
Oh yeah, yep, gotcha. These.
Right. So what kind of acts like the front door? Because it's interesting, the garage side on Westchester to me feels like the back of the house or the side of the house. And in a funny way, the front door seems like what's on the porch facing Liberty Street. But yeah, because I mean, you would normally have a garage facing.
No, I know, but you know,
Sunset
I'm pretty
Hill.
familiar with the house because I worked on it before.
Yeah.
You know, I did this screen porch for the previous owner, so I know it quite well. And the way it's set up, this door is existing, I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah.
to me, aside from the fact that the garage door is unfortunately facing the street, to me, to me felt like the front of the house.
Does it have any sort of orientation? I've forgotten on Sunset Hill.
That's back here, and there's really nothing. It definitely does not address that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just, as far as massing, I think that this is more appropriately scaled for the structure, not to have the steep pitched, more tower gable above the garage, because it really brings emphasis to the garage doors on the front of the house, which is weird. My concern with this would just be how much is taken up of the proposed main roof plane with the dormer. I'd rather it be scaled down and have maybe 6 inches or a foot of shingle space between those windows and the corner boards. So just like shrinking the thing down and dropping it off the ridge and stepping it back from the eave. It feels like there's too much dormer for that face. And I think that it would be, if this really is the main and only front door, I feel like there needs to be more attention brought to it. Whether it's some sort of surrounding lights or an awning or something, but it feels very front side or back door.
Angus, how about just a more elaborate door surround, to help?
Something,
give it
yes,
importance?
yeah, better than lights, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, how about even a different door color?
that's probably white right now. Yeah,
As long as the garage doors aren't the same.
yeah. Sure, I think those are good suggestions. So I guess, are you saying to make the dormer smaller or to make the,
Yes,
okay,
yeah, so if you, or even to keep those windows, the 8 lights, 4 lights wide, just bringing the space between the windows down and the space to the dormer corners, so that the whole thing sort of shrinks 3 or 4 feet.
well, one of my comments, and this is going to affect what you're talking about, so I'm going to bring it up, was that, 8/8 windows is sort of to me, they're an oddity on the Nantucket.
They are.
And if I was going to suggest 6/6s, now that's just going to increase the amount of shingle space in that dormer.
So I think both are valid points. So, some houses do have the 8/8s, in which case you sort of stick with it. But this, as far as I can tell, doesn't have them. And you're right, they are unusual. So the same thing that I think applies is that, they could go 6/6, but then, again, reduce the amount of shingle area.
What about like making them shorter? So like, and I might have this backwards. I'm sorry. I have a lot of background noise with the class. Like 8/4. So it only opens one. I mean, what's the likelihood of the windows being open? Is there going to be air conditioning on this? Or what if they became hopper windows, but were smaller?
But what is that accomplishing? It's the
I
width
don't know.
bothers me.
8/8 is too. I understand the 6/6 making it. I just don't think the 8/8. They look way too big for the dormer, especially when all the windows on the first floor are so much smaller. They look kind of,
Yeah.
I want to say silly, but they just look very weird.
I was going to suggest the second floor. I mean, the first floor windows. These are new windows also. Now, so I was going to, and they're 8 light casements, which are mold 8 light casements. So they're a new thing and not something we typically see either. So I was going to suggest that they're on the front of the building. This should be, to me, this should have a more formal looking, better fenestrated front appearance.
It's kind of hodgepodgey, and I mean, I know this is not a really old house, but this is like the oldest street on Nantucket.
Yeah.
So it just is just a mixture of, like, even if it was, I don't know, there are other windows somewhere else in the house that might work as like awning windows in the dormer, but it just doesn't look right. I mean, the house is already an oddity as it is, but it's quirky, and this is just, I don't know, I guess it's losing that. It's also just becoming massive. I mean, my fear is like what you see when you're standing on Sunset Hill looking over.
Yeah, it's sort of, the house kind of, even though it's so exposed in that lower garage level, the house is essentially starting at the first floor. It's, even though a lot of the foundation is exposed facing the street, there's not much we can do about it. The left side is pretty well landscaped. But
it's coming up so higher.
There's a lot of landscaping in front. The door is set back underneath the overhang. It's not great, but it's not as bad as it looks in two-dimensional on paper. So I don't know. I hear what you're saying, Angus, about the dormer, and I think that that's a good suggestion. The dormer is overwhelming the roof plane. We don't normally like to see that. So we'll mention that. I've got to, if they buy into the 6/6 thing, I think they probably have to add a window to fill that dormer better. So there's not so much shingled wall in the dormer.
I guess what I'm hoping for is that it comes in from the sides and just gets skinnier. And 3, I think, is more visually pleasing than 4. Just odd numbers seem to always work well.
I agree. Yeah.
But is there anything that can be done to make this feel more? Thank you for revisiting the photos, because it does look a lot better in real life than in the drawings. But I mean, is there any way to fill the porch? Would it make any more sense for that railing to be shingled or some other kind of thing? It just feels very back or side porch feeling to be the front of the house. I don't know.
Yeah. It's an awkward situation. The railing is there. I'm not sure we can really ask them if they're planning just to leave it alone. I think they have a right to do that.
Well, I mean, it was like a different style house, 1 story, kind of ranch-esque.
Yeah.
And now it's going to a different structure. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to look more comprehensively at, what's the role of this house in the neighborhood, and as it expands.
Is the shingled rail going to help it? I don't know if it will or not. It might actually just put more heavier mass in an awkward spot in front of it.
Because of all the landscaping, it almost feels like it's terraced, the steps, the way they are, and the stone, and then all the plants. I think all those things help to ground it. It's just that the floating, what feels spindly railing and deck coming out on the front, I think makes it feel less formal, less like a front door facade.
Yeah, and in the winter, I'm sure all these leaves are gone too. So, all right. So what is your suggestion regarding that then?
To hear the rest of your comments.
I think, all right. So I think you heard most of them already. Change to 6/6s here. My other comment is about this side porch, and I like porches. But what I don't really like, I don't know if you can probably see this, is a gabled open porch. To me, they look like carports or something. They don't look like porches to me. I think, porches to me are usually hipped or shed roofed rather than this gable. And here it is from the end right here.
Yeah.
I think it's just sort of an odd way to design a covered porch. It's not a traditional way, in my opinion. So I'm just suggesting that they change that roof to a hipper shed. And those were my only suggestions.
I agree with that.
They can screen the AC too.
Is it on the plan?
Well, and it shows in the photo on that
It's back here probably.
Yeah, and the north elevation.
There it is, yeah. Yeah, screen AC. Yep, I'll put that in too. So back to the dormer, which I hadn't mentioned before. Angus, you just like to see it a little narrower. Is that the point?
Yeah. Yeah, less shingle area. I mean, I'm not really advocating for a fourth window. I'd hate to see that be the fix for it.
You know, but and then the other hand, if we're advocating for 6/6 windows and less shingles, we're kind of opposing.
What, can you please go back to the second floor? I just want to see what the program is up there. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
It's,
5.
I mean, 4 would probably fit, and actually 4 would align. Excuse me, align with if they won't align, but there's a pattern of 4 down here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to 4. I don't think it's that unusual. And
Yeah, or maybe even once they get skinny down to 6/6, maybe 5 fits,
yeah. So 6/6 windows and add another window or so in the dormer.
But it would be preferable for it to get pulled back a little bit more.
From the edges.
Yeah, I mean, at some point the eave just kind of feels token, like it's just tagged on to a flush dormer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. We good with this one?
Mhm.
One last quick question, 6/6, will that make it even wider, the dormer?
We'll make the dormer wider, but it'll create more shingle space around the windows, which we're not trying to.
Because then you kind of lose the whole roof. I'm just throwing that.
Yeah, well, we're not saying make the dormer wider. So that's
Okay.
Okay. Next is 31 Western Ave. We've seen this before. Forget exactly what they did, but I think they've straightened out some boardwalks. They've changed these courtyard areas from gravel to brick. And they're still showing a pergola, which we tried to tell them not to do. Not sure I mind the pergola a lot. I don't think it's perfectly suited for this setting, but it's a freestanding semi-informal structure, so I'm not 100% opposed to it. So my only comment was I thought that the 2 brick courtyards was just too much brick, too excessive. So they could probably get away with just 1. What are your thoughts on this?
It's a big open grass area surrounding a historic life-saving station. I don't think there should be brick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not in favor of the pergola either, but I could deal with the pergola more if there was no brick underneath it. I just don't think it's appropriate bricking all that area.
Yeah, and I'm wearing a little bit of my other hat on this one, is that if they're going to provide some outdoor space, it would be nice if it were accessible.
I was going to say, I wouldn't normally in this environment have so much brick, but I'm aware of the accessibility issues.
What
And
about a
I agree
recess?
that you
Sorry.
could have 1, but maybe not 2,
Mm-hmm.
areas that are filled with brick.
Yeah.
So
What
I'm
about-
with you to change 1 to grass.
What about wood set down?
Like a grade level wood courtyard.
I think that's more appropriate, given all the decking that's being used around it.
So change it to wood. I think that's,
It'll disappear more, and it's more
In keeping
water
Natural
can make its way
material.
through better.
well, I like the material. I'm not sure, we've seen in many places, and maybe it's here, that the boardwalks are set down flush with grade rather than sitting on top of grade like a deck. I'm not sure where we've seen full-on wooden decks that are sunken into the ground flush.
They exist and they're pretty cool. And the way I've seen them done before is that there's like a crawl space wall that's built and they just are sort of, right above that. It doesn't have to be that elaborate, but they, there's masonry holding it so that it's not buried and it's not underground. But it allows for the deck to be flush with grade. And honestly, I'd be a lot happier seeing, a natural gray wood rather than the red of the brick in it, being used for a lot of this, if that were an option.
Yeah. All
I
right.
think it would just look better and be more in keeping, because you think about the front entryway with that ramp that's wood.
Yeah. I'm going to ask Mary Bergman, if you don't mind, Mary. Does the NPT restriction deal with the landscaping at all, or is it just the buildings?
We haven't looked at this plan in detail yet. We are meeting on the 19th, which is not exactly the question that you asked me. But it has been submitted to us and we have been asked for our feedback on it. But the restriction really does pertain to the buildings.
Okay.
I like what you're saying though about it sounds like it would be an interesting compromise to have some sort of decking. And I could see from a tick perspective too, people want to be able to sit somewhere where there's a flat surface without grass. But the brick, that is a lot of brick.
It's a lot of brick, especially two areas.
If you had the decking, this is a question, I guess, really for you, Mickey. If you had the decking connect up to the ramp, would it have to be flush? If there's a way to get on it, because that ADA accessible boardwalk is already there?
Well, if you're asking if the deck, well, the
It's
deck,
flush with the ground, I guess, yeah.
well, yeah, the boardwalk is pretty much flush with the ground, and we're suggesting that the deck be flush with the ground, so they would naturally meet up. If they didn't, I mean, there could be a slight slope, but it has to be less than 1 in 20.
The only place I can really think of off the top of my head, but it's nearby, is at Stones Beach. They have a deck. It is a little bit it's not flush with the ground or inset, but it is sort of like this public deck that's just kind of sitting there. And it's a pleasant way to experience the space.
Yeah, I've been there. I know what you're saying, and it's a little odd because it's just this deck sitting out in the bluff by itself, but it looks fine. So I would agree with it. All right.
Makes it snake habitat too underneath.
Sure would. All right, so we're going to suggest the wooden deck, and I'm going to assume we're just talking about one wooden deck.
Yes, natural to weather.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, is that this just turns that weathered gray.
So other aspects, there's these scattered stones. I'm not sure I guess they're pathways to the cottages. They don't really bother me too much. Otherwise, they're walking on the grass. So, and they do have some here.
I have a question. Do we have any say over amplified music and speakers and that stuff on this? Because there's another place that is owned that has a lot of amplification and stuff.
Yeah, I would
That's
definitely
nice.
say that's going to be outside of our purview.
Does that fit in the purview of the easement?
No, the easement has no control over, sorry, the easement has no control over the use of the structure, the place. I think the abutters who have lived next to a youth hostel for the last 50 years are well aware of whatever the noise regulations are and who to call. But I think you'd be seeing I don't know that this is going to bring any new issues. As this is this, anyway, there are a couple of questions I certainly would have for the planning board, as I think the abutters do as well, but this isn't really the space to discuss.
Well, and outdoor lighting. That pergola could be lit up like,
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Lighting.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see small lights along the boardwalks, but I'd hate to see strings of lights all over that pergola.
Yeah, and that's pretty tempting. They may be thinking about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are we allowed to ask for an outdoor lighting plan? Nikki?
we
Yes.
are. We've done it many times, and sometimes they'll respond. So the other things that I've noticed on the plan are they're down here. This is a parking area. I guess that's just going to remain as its shell. The 3 spaces up in the front, they're proposing to pave, I imagine, with asphalt. And we had suggested brick before. I think somebody on the board, the HDC, had said that there's really very little, if any, brick out in that area. And there are paved streets, with asphalt. So I don't know if the asphalt parking is horrible here. And it's got to be accessible. So there needs to be some sort of paving, at least for part of this. And, maybe we say just the accessible space is asphalt.
Can we ask that if it's asphalt, what about, is it accessible if you scatter pebbles in it? So like some of the streets, especially out Tom Nevers and the outer reaches of Sconset years ago, it used to have the asphalt and then they put down a layer of like tiny little pebbles that were then rolled down and set inside it. So it wasn't like
I really like that idea. It's just,
I miss those.
or
I think
shells.
they look nice.
Yeah.
You just read my mind, Jason. I was trying to get it. How can we have something that looks more natural without going to blacktop
Yeah.
that would meet the
I wish they
accessibility?
would do that again. I miss that. It would just look nice.
Yeah, I mean, literally just sand rolled into the top of it changes it a lot, and crushed shells.
And it should still be accessible because it pretty much is flat.
It will be, yeah. All right, good
What-
idea.
I have a question. To the right of the handicap parking, there's
Mhm.
that dark square. Up right, a little bit north of that. What is that? And that little dark square right there in the corner.
Oh, I don't, I think,
I believe that's a shed you've already approved, or the HGC.
Oh,
has
this
already
right
approved.
here.
Oh, that one?
I don't know what that is. Is it in the picture? It's really not identifying it.
No,
I don't know, Lucy, and it's not showing up. They seem like they're extending the boardwalk over to this edge. Here's where it stops now, and they're running it right down to the corner here.
okay, I was just asking.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, anything else on this? I think we're good. 126 Main. Okay, I think I will read my comments and then you can add yours to this. Adding a roof walk to a house of this age that never had one before is not appropriate. A roof walk drastically changes the appearance of a house. It is a huge ornament sitting on the middle of the roof, distracting from the natural simplicity of a typical Nantucket house. This house should be allowed to remain with its simple historic character intact. Raising the chimney to 6 feet above the ridge to accommodate the roof walk is completely out of character with the age of this house. Another reason not to approve the roof walk. Moving this house and completely rebuilding the foundation is unnecessary. There are ways to structurally reinforce the existing foundation from the interior, leaving it with its original material and appearance. A newly built brick foundation will never look the same as an old one. The plans call for lowering the first floor and the first floor windows and doors 18 inches. This completely alters the relationship of the fenestration on the front of the house by adding space between the first and second floor windows and removing shingle space below the first floor windows. The door is now oddly sitting at the level of the shingle line. And this creates a conflict with its first floor framing, and the basement windows. The front facade should absolutely remain as is. This also affects the other elevations as well. A flush dormer facing Main Street is not appropriate. The raised deck on the west side should have a skirt rather than leave it open and very visible from Main Street. And we'd like to see revisions.
Amen.
Yes,
I never noticed this before. I don't know if they were proposing this window door change
I
originally.
was gonna say, I hadn't noticed that either. And what's really weird is to look at the front door sill and then go to the left and see that it's right in line with the windows. Like, what's happening there?
Exactly.
Where's
no
the
room.
floor?
Yeah, where is the floor? There's no sill beam. I mean, nothing.
But
So
everything that you're saying is appropriate.
I don't, they've tried a couple things on this dormer, and the setback dormer didn't really work either. And I know they want the head height up there. I'm not sure. I can't offer them suggestions. It's not our job, but it's sort of a puzzle. And what else do we got?
Did you mention the chimney?
I
Yes.
did. Yep,
Okay.
too tall. There,
So
there
isn't it also being moved? Isn't it in the middle of the house?
it's,
Or am I wrong?
they put it back, I think, to where it was.
I
Am I
thought it
wrong?
was, I'm gonna go, is there another?
Where's the existing?
No, it's in the middle of the house.
Well, here is, you're right, you're right, it is more centered, and they have moved it. Let me switch that over. So here's where where it is existing. And yeah, they're moving away to the
I
side.
actually don't think their drawings are completely spot on. Because if you go and find an image of it, it is more in the center than even the existing drawings are showing.
Yep.
And,
Yeah,
look at the floor plans. I think that's a fake chimney.
well, it was.
Sure.
This is going to be a fake one.
Mickey, could you please go to the second floor plan?
Yeah, looking for those. And here's the first floor. Is this the first one? Yeah. And no, central, here's the old central chimney, totally gone. And here's the second floor. Nothing there. So they're just putting it on the roof. They can put it, if they're adding a fake chimney, they can put it in the right spot.
Mickey, can you roll back to the second floor again, please?
I think the chimney, the chimney should not be allowed to be removed. I don't care. I mean, it shouldn't be wholesale removed, but it should remain in the same place that it is.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have any purview of what is inside, but the HDC certainly has control over the existing chimney staying intact and in place on the outside.
Yeah, they do.
I'd like to remind everybody too, how many original chimneys we're losing.
Because
I know, left and right.
we're also losing them off of kitchenelles because people act like they're nothing. And
Yep. Yeah, so here it's definitely not in the right spot. And I'm sure
Have
they're
they
doing
ever
it there
changed-
to accommodate the roof line.
Yeah.
well, they changed what have they changed the roof line?
I don't
Like,
think so.
Is it more because in photographs it looks like it has a very it does not have as steep a pitch.
They're not suggesting they're changing the main roof.
Okay. I just can't tell from the photos. That looks a little better than I thought, but from the photos it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna add to my comments to keep the chimney in the size and location that it currently is.
Retain existing chimney as is.
Retain existing chimney as is. Yep. Okay, anything else on this one?
Yeah, that's such an awkward scale at 6 feet above the ridge.
Yeah, I know. It's totally inappropriate.
Yeah, no, it is. It's just a lot of,
And it's so massive and it's on the side, not
Yeah.
even in the center.
in the wrong spot, too tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Move on.
But everybody feels that the house should not be relocated, right?
Yes. Nice.
Yes.
I don't know, you hire an engineer who's going to tell you what you want to hear.
That's true. Okay, so next, 55 Easton Street. Okay, this is better than the first try. So what I had for comments here is these, it's a lot to do with these shingled porch bases. And I actually looked around, I tried to find an old historic photograph of this house. I could not find anything that old to see if they've changed in their material over time. During the HTC comments, I think Ray had said the original design had shingled porch plinths, and I just don't know where he got that concept. I couldn't see it in any of the photographs. And you know, I went up and down Wall Street where there's a couple of these sort of bungalows with these kind of similar columned porch posts. And there's some on Upper Easton closer to the Nantucket Inn. And you know, there is actually one that I think does show shingled posts like this, but I don't think the shingles go all the way to the ground. And I think that that's an oddity. I think that the main, and I went on Google and looked at bungalows with these, you know, none of them show shingled columns. They're all brick or stone. So I think that's what's there now. So I'm not sure why we'd want to change it. So I said, these types of porch columns were traditionally set on stone bases, not shingles. If the shingles were used, they would not extend into the ground, but be supported on stone bases. The foundation material is shown as cement, which is what is existing. However, once it is raised, much more foundation will be exposed. A more appropriate material for an elevated structure would be panels of lattice or spaced vertical boards between brick piers. You don't see it much here, but on the side views, there's a lot of foundation that's going to be exposed. So, thoughts?
What behind the house, that garage is going away, correct? Why are we putting a deck on the? I just really still don't like that deck on the front of the, I mean, it's not on the front, it's on the side, but it is fully visible from the street, that deck. And I just feel like it detracts from the house and also detracts from the original front porch.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jason.
I just don't think it's appropriate.
Fortunately, it is back. It's not like up close to the street. I guess that's the only positive thing I can say about that.
But it's so open and it's just losing that whole.
Mickey, can you go to the east view?
East and south, so you want east, yes.
It's massive.
Huge.
Yeah, they did scale it back. It was quite a bit. The original plan had the deck way out here, And they've just cut it back a little bit. The stairs are different. I think the stairs are better the way they're showing them. Yeah, it is. The deck is it's a little in your face. I'm not sure. It's again, it's set back off the street. To
Well,
me,
should it be reduced more? Like pull, because it's sticking off of the house. It's not like it's within the frame. See how it sticks off?
yeah, over here.
Shouldn't it be like pulled in so it kind of lines up with the windows or something so it doesn't stick off and doesn't keep wrapping around to the back?
Well, I think that's a reasonable suggestion. So just eliminate this. Am I in the
I
second
mean,
floor?
how wide is it from the front to where it hits the house? I mean, what is, I can't, because I can't see the dimensions. That's huge.
Well, this is
It's
4.5
17
feet. This is 13
But it's-
feet.
Right,
So
but it's 17 feet towards this from the house to the street, and then 17 feet from the wall to, I mean,
Mhm.
that's a.
Yeah.
Because don't
Okay, I
forget,
think-
then you're gonna also have all the stuff that's on top of the deck.
I think it's fair to suggest that we ask them to hold the line of the deck to not project beyond the corner of the house.
What about their egress out of that master bedroom?
They don't need doors, windows work for egress.
Since they're up so high, I can understand, that's going to be the outdoor living space
Mhm,
without having to go down a whole flight of stairs.
mhm. Mm,
But that's a lot of deck just to get access from the bedroom.
Yeah, it seems unnecessary in this. They're not getting a real usable deck here anyway. It's just a walkway.
That's right. What's changing about the fireplace? I mean,
There was originally they showed an outdoor fireplace right here. They've removed it.
oh, so that's a new chimney though.
I think it is a new chimney.
I thought that house had a chimney.
I'm
It
just-
does, we're losing that chimney too, in the main.
Yeah, so the
bathroom.
chimney in the internal part of the house is going away in exchange for the outside chimney.
Yeah, there's two of them right here. They seem to be kind of on the back. Although the exterior chimney didn't bother me on this house. I mean, in some places we really don't want to see them, but I think it was out of character with the house. Where is that? Here.
Well, part of what ties that material in are the existing posts,
Yeah.
out on the porch.
Yeah, which are gone or not shingle.
Yeah, so that's kind of another reason to keep them brick.
Yeah. And, there's my suggestion of having brick piers. I think, elevated structures are suddenly different. I think they're better off having the appearance that they're sitting on a light.
Yeah, piers and lattice or
Yeah.
piers and boards seems much more appropriate once you start pulling way up out of the ground.
Yep. So that would help if they were to do that with brick piers, that would relate to the chimney also.
Sounds good.
All right, we good here? Moving on to this is India Street. And Lucy, you did send me a picture.
I did.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that. Sorry, I meant to
I
have that.
did that. And if they want to put a skylight in the roof of the wart in the back of 25 India.
So here it is. This is where the skylight, we don't have a plan here for some reason, but this is because it was on the view list, I guess, but here's the, it's on this is the location for the skylight, which is obviously, this is taken from India Street. I
Now,
mean,
this is
Hussey,
Hussey.
yeah, Hussey Street, so it's visible.
And I'd like to point out that in the HDC minutes, it states that the project was presented and her photos support lack of visibility. Which that, and there's no photographs in the packet. But as you can see, I mean, this is taken in July when all the greenery is totally flushed out and it's completely visible. I'd also like to point out that I don't think that the type of skylight is indicated anyway. Not that it would be appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just looking at this. So you're right. She said her photos support lack of visibility.
But yeah,
It says.
but there are no photos.
Yeah, we didn't get them. Oh, here's the drawing. Ooh. So
Whoa,
Oh, yes.
what's going on there?
that looks even bigger than I remember it. Wow.
Seriously? That's the whole roof.
That's crazy. And then the roofs at the slope, maybe they didn't account for that, but they're indicating the skylight literally goes from top to bottom.
And we're seeing pretty much the whole roof, as Lucy says, in July, let alone, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
January.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why anybody would want to put a hole that big in their roof is beyond me.
Yeah. All right, so I basically said the same thing we did last time, more or less. The skylight would be visible from Hussey Street and not where we would normally want to see a skylight. Perhaps an additional window would add as much light to the room. A smaller wood skylight, not a wood boxed Velux would be an improvement. And we want to see the revisions. I'm just throwing that in there just in case they prove the skylight. At least we don't want it to be a box Velux.
Why
But
don't you just redo your interior lighting and save yourself a bunch of money.
well, there are plenty ways.
Speaking of lighting, that I can only imagine what that would be like in winter with the light coming up out of the roof.
But better yet, Angus, you've got that guest house right on Hussey Street. So on the second floor, they got a good bird's eye view of what's going on down there.
That's true, looking right into your living room.
Yikes.
So, do you have anything to add? I think we can go on. We said it once before. So here we go. This is Two Stone Alley. Lost.
Yeah.
So, Lucy, for some reason, I can't see the participants list. Is anybody else waiting to get in? Can you tell?
No,
I can't, I don't have my list up, so keep an eye on that for me, please. All right, so I think people in the public that probably want to make some comments on this, so I'm gonna let them have their say. Ginger or Sarah, did you, either one of you want to say something, or anybody else?
This is Ginger. I can't really comment because I can't see any new plan if one was submitted.
Well, they did submit plans, and as they've been doing all along, they were very minor changes. Not, in my opinion, not nearly enough in terms of reducing the massing and the volume. But they are new plans, and they changed the appearance of the so-called enclosed sun porch on the east side. And they've lowered the ridge in the middle section by, they're saying 7 inches, and the porch roof by 4 inches. These are token changes, so that's my feeling anyway. So Ginger, is there anything that you can say or would like to?
Well, I mean, my concern about massing hasn't changed, and to me, what's important about the building is that it's a barn to cottage conversion from 1910, and that it should be possible to understand the changes to the building when you look at it, when you add something new. And when the HDC first started reviewing this particular iteration of the plan, they suggested, various approaches, a little more creative, and nothing really creative has been done with it. It's still kind of the box that ate the house. It's not set, at least as from what I can tell, it's not set back far enough, and it's still too tall and obliterates the original structure. So it doesn't sound, from what you're saying, like it meets the federal guidelines for additions to historic structures. But no, I was, if the plans on the website that were for the HDC submission tomorrow, the floor area of the addition is still larger than the original house. So, that's all I can add. If anybody else on my team can actually see the new plan, that's all I can say from here.
Thanks, Ginger. Sarah, did you want to say something?
I agree with what both you and Ginger have said. I have seen the plans. I was hoping that someone from Emeritus would be here to kind of walk us through them and give us their rationale for them. Because to me, it seems like this has just become death by 1,000 cuts. It's just nowhere near enough. It's not responsive fully to all of the comments. And it is swallowing up that historic structure and changing that stone alley streetscape. It's just too bad that they won't listen and go south. And it's just, I don't know. It's just not, they haven't been responsive. I'm sympathetic to the bind that Matt's in, but I still feel like these changes aren't anywhere near enough.
Yeah, I think we're all probably going to agree with that. Is there anybody else? Are you done, Sarah?
That's fine. I'm done.
Thanks. Anybody else want to speak to this project outside the board? Doesn't look it. So I'm just going to, my comments are essentially right along those lines. The additions still overwhelm the original cottage. The middle section should be shortened by 2 or 3 feet, and the enclosed porch at the end by 4 or 5 feet. The proportions of the porch are too deep and not in keeping with what might have ever been built as an open porch. The plate for the middle addition should drop 1 foot or so, and the roof pitch should be steeper, more keeping with the more closely matching the existing roof. And those are basically my comments. Anybody else?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, just as a quick side note, this is Ginger.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just happened to notice the other day that since the tree, there was a large tree halfway up Stone Alley that has was diseased and was removed, and it's now actually possible to see the top of Eliza Codd's original sun porch on this house, actually from the boat basin across the open field of the, the electric company area there. So I just thought that might be of interest.
Well, yeah, I think it's pretty well confirmed that this is visible from, I think it's sort of visible even from Union Street between the houses, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, and further back, definitely going to be visible. So, okay. Thanks, Ginger. I guess thoughts?
Well, when I heard Ginger saying, I can't see a different plan, I was going to say, well, we're looking at it and we're not seeing a different plan. There just hasn't been the response to our concerns for years. Any addition, I mean, preferably would be away from Stone Alley, but if it's going along Stone Alley, it needs to respond to the topography, which is just stepping down, which, the middle section needs to step down. The farthest section to the right or to the east is, is better than what we've seen in the past. But the middle section is still high. And I would say that needs to step down even more than the 2 to 4 feet that you suggest. It needs to be like 2 stories at the top and then 1 story and then, really step it down. I don't think there's room to keep the same second floor height and step it down as much as it needs. So your suggestion of stepping that floor level down is helpful, but I'm not sure that even is going to do enough there to bring it down as much as it needs to emphasize the original historic structure up on the west front side of the house.
Interestingly, I think they have dropped in the addition, the first floor. Here they're saying existing first floor. And here it says first floor addition and it's down 6 inches or so. I didn't notice that on the floor plan, but it does sort of show it happening with these dashed lines in the elevations. I wasn't really suggesting that, Angus, on the second floor, they drop that floor, although that's not a bad, anything to get it lower. Looks like they've kind of done the same thing up there too. Existing versus addition, dropped it down a little bit. So they're trying, but incrementally, not nearly a significant change. So.
Is that saying 10 feet floor to ceiling, 10 feet floor to floor?
Existing, it is 10 feet. So if they're saying the existing floor to floor is
really high.
It's a 9-foot ceiling in this. I don't know, was a barn though, so maybe that's why.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Perhaps they're removing the original barn floor. One of my concerns was the extent of the demolition and the foundation was going. So I was actually wondering if they were on a previous plan, they had the outside door on Stone Alley from the basement. It looked like it was going to require exterior steps to get down to it. At the last time I was in it, the original building had 2 steps down from that outside door to the basement floor. And I think if the view is a concern that, maybe they're dropping digging out the cellar more, the basement more, and lowering the grade there. I don't know. I can't really see, but that's.
Yeah, I think it's almost definitely they're dropping the basement floor. They didn't identify it on the floor plan as anything but basement, but they did mention an egress window right here on the basement plan. So I'm just assuming they're putting in bedrooms down there because that's why you need egress windows. Let's see if I can find that. So emergency egress. I got a feeling these are going to turn into bedrooms at some point. They're not identifying them as such. And most definitely, I'm guessing, lowering the basement floor to accommodate that. So Lucy or Jason, any thoughts?
I agree with what's been said.
Okay. Jason? If you're there, maybe not. Okay. All right. I think we've said it 1,000 times already, and once again, so I think we can move on to 16 Easton Street.
Now, we couldn't find 71 Orange, right? I couldn't find it.
You're right, that was on the agenda, yes, and I couldn't find it either, new garage at 71 Orange. And I couldn't find it anywhere, so can't do much there. So, hi Lisa,
Hi, how are you guys?
good, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So we made a couple changes here, which I think go back because I for some reason, I think that last time you guys reviewed this, we had made some other changes prior to going to the HGC. So I'm just going back to my notes. I think the changes so what we had done was incorporated that railing design, which is up on the roof walk from an old picture from the house that had existed there. And in the last submission to the HGC, we had that everywhere and it was a little bit busy. We also, I believe, when you guys saw it, we still had the curved stairs at the front, which are now have been eliminated. We also broke up the back to the back railing to make it a little bit more defined, a little more interesting, not quite just not all railings. We added those shingled walls, which I think also helped quite a bit. So I'm going back to what you guys looked at. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I think we also extended the mass on the right side, maybe a little bit on this, the hip mass. And we added this little mass in the front, which frankly, I don't think will be very visible, but the little kind of to the right of the front door, something that looks like an old porch that got enclosed at a later date. I don't really think the visibility of that will be a concern, but that is a change from the last time you guys saw it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So we had at one point narrowed the building a little bit as well. We took 2 feet out of the main mass to try to, bring it in for the setbacks a little bit as well.
It still looks pretty tight to the setbacks.
It is, but you have to keep in mind that that setback on the right is because it's at an angle.
Yeah.
But in one of these submissions, we did reduce it by 2 feet. And the good news is because of what's on the Coast Guard, you're never going to have a building right next to this building. I mean, I think that would be very unusual. And then the one to the left is also just slightly off. There's the setbacks as well.
Okay, that helps. Okay, I haven't had big issues with this design from the beginning, just little things. This porch kind of did sort of bother me. I basically just said the sunroom on the north side is an awkward attachment and detracts from the facade. I think the scale and everything about it is just kind of small and busy and doesn't really relate to the main building. So it just seemed like an odd attachment. Here's the side of it. If you can't see it, I think you'll probably glimpse it a little bit, but it is well back from the road.
Yeah, with buildings in front of it.
With buildings in front. Yep. So Lisa, maybe you can help me with this one.
Yep.
This came up on 55 Easton Street. You have these shingled columns.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have other examples of where those are on the island?
Yeah, I might. Let me just take a gander at something. Well, if you want to talk, I'll try to see if I can find some images on my desktop of a project we did.
Okay.
Would the Mayflower on Baxter Road have it?
I was gonna say Baxter there. I think there might be shingle examples, but that's probably playing off shingled rails or larger columns.
You know, my office on Easton Street, 82 had, I thought it had shingled. The only
know-
thing that I'm not sure of is whether or not they went all the way down to the ground. Hold on,
I
that's
did
my
find a
only.
picture, maybe just on Street View of something in that area, whether it was your old building or one next to it, that had shingled columns, pretty similar to what you're showing, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they probably did exist. I mean, they're the stone ones that are on Wall Street. Trying to think of what other ones that are close by, but I do remember 82 East had definitely had something like that.
Yep.
Okay, I'm still searching my.
I think we looked at a street view for that, on that building last time, that we were looking at the other Easton Street property.
Mhm.
Or let me see. So Lucy, you think we looked at the what
Yeah,
was
we
it? 82 Easton, Lisa?
Yeah, it was my old office.
Yeah.
We did look at it, and I don't think it was what we expected, quite what we were looking for, as I recall.
Oh, wait, let's do this. Straight. Yeah, so,
Oh, I did find a picture.
yeah, you're
Okay.
right, these do go all the way down. It's a shingled rail. I don't know if that throws a different flavor into it.
Yeah, well, I'll show you a picture if I can share my screen that shows a building we did at 30 Easton that
Okay.
has something similar. Sorry, all these, hold on. Let me get back to Zoom.
But this is, you're saying this is a new building or changes to a building on East?
This was a building that we did a while back. It's a new building. And so it has, so we, yeah, I'm not saying it's correct or not correct, but it is
Mhm.
on that same streetscape, you know,
Yeah.
4 houses up.
I mean, I guess it's not that I think that it just looks bad or weird. I'm just trying to, traditionally, they definitely, to me, looked like they were generally stone or brick. 99% of the ones I've come across and looked at online, hard to find a shingled one. So
I don't think I think they're nice though. They're softer.
yeah, so not really like making a big point out of it. I'm just saying it's just a different way of just not as traditional, I guess, is what I would expect to see.
Okay. I can stop my share now. Hold on. How do I do that?
So my other comments on the house were I'm gonna
Hold on. How do I figure out how
stop.
to stop my share? Stop video.
I think I can do that for you.
There we go. Thank you.
So getting back to my screen. This it? Yeah. Okay, so originally, Lisa, one of these picture windows was I think five ganged.
Yeah, and this was a suggestion by one of the board members, and she at the last HGC meeting, I think people liked that it brought back a little bit of the old building that was there.
The 2 picture windows?
The picture windows, because the building that's there right now has actually no muttons.
Oh, the one that's there currently, right.
Yeah, so they liked it.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure I like it so much myself, but
Well, that's hard. I don't know who to please.
I know it. Obviously. So, I think to me, it's just too much glass. There's a lot of glass. I mean, one I actually didn't mind. I thought it was sort of, you see that along Easton and Holbert even. So I didn't mind the one, but 2 seems like a lot to me. So I just commented on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. Anybody else?
Yes. I have a question about the French doors above the front door.
Yes, that came up at the last meeting.
Yeah, it's 4/1.
The reason we did that was so that it looked more like a window, so that it wasn't, because we had at one point submitted it and they looked like French doors, and I sort of liked the idea of it almost masking as a window as opposed to a French door. And we've reduced the number of shutters, which I think really simplifies the building as well. You know, we used to have them on all the dormers, but we just put them on the first floor now and these doors. So I thought that having those doors read almost like windows as opposed to doors made, you know, the traditional French door made sense.
Yeah, and then also you've changed the roof walk.
That railing was taken off of one of the old pictures of the building
But
that was there.
You had 3 sections before.
Oh yeah, one of the board members asked for 2.
I personally, I think three sections.
Yeah,
It
again,
doesn't divide the house in half.
Yeah. here
we
you
had
go.
3 sections before. That was a specific board member request. So again, I don't want to say I'm ambivalent, but I think we're flexible in terms of whatever the consensus is. I think it seems like people have personal opinions that might not be consistent.
Mhm.
Well, I think that the house is, you've got a lot of symmetry on both sides, and to have the roof walk divided in half, to me, thirds is would be visually more pleasing.
I'm with Lucy on that one. I agree with pretty much all the comments so far. The shingle columns, I feel like, you know, they almost always end up on some sort of masonry, whether it's brick or stone post. I'd rather them not go all the way to the ground. When I've seen them incorporated into decks, usually it ends at the shingle line of the rest of the house. The north facing but addition, the little wart, I don't really mind it. I feel like the windows aren't responding to the rest of the house as much as they could be, whether it just needs to be 4/1. But the rest of the windows feel like they have a real vertical sense of the panes, and these are more square. And the underneath paneled area where that seems appropriate in some situations, this one, it kind of stands out. I think that incorporating it with the rest of the house, shingle would be better under the sill of the windows. I think that's it.
Okay.
Wonder, Angus, if, you know, these are 4/4s, if you ended up, there's 4 of them. If you ended up with 3 6/6s, if that would.
3 6/1s. Yeah.
6/1s or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason we didn't do that either was just because I liked the way this worked out is then from the side, you have the same sort of spacing. It just worked with the architecture. And again, I think given potentially the lack of visibility, maybe it's not as big of an issue, but.
Yeah, and on this face, if that works out proportionally, you know, why not do 4/1s? But on the front part to go with the 6/1.
Oh, you don't think they would want to be the same in the room, within the room?
If they're all sort of the same pane and all the, you know, the meeting rails are lining up in the sills and heads, and it seems like that could work. It just seems a little busy doing all the 4/4s there.
Well, you know, from your comments, I would probably change those to 4/1s. I think that's a good comment. And frankly, I'm not so sure why we didn't do that to begin with, other than the fact that they were casements. So I think I would just had in my mind, you know, but I think having to stand aside, I always like the idea of any sort of quirky thing have a different window type, because it looks like then the building generated over time. You know, because you see a lot of buildings that were 6/1s, or I just did one that's 12/2s, and at some point somebody changed the upper windows to 2/2s. So, you know, I think that part helps tell the architecture and the story of the architecture, even when it's a new building. So I like mixing window types personally.
You're reminding me, I had a comment for the south elevation is, speaking of evolution over time, the left gambrel feels like that was what was there. And then there was maybe a side porch that got filled in. But it seems weird for there not to be a post underneath the left side of the left gambrel.
Oh, yeah, you can just add something physically there, yeah.
Yeah, I think everything is, it's all centered and lined up with that gambrel. So it kind of makes sense to have a post underneath the cursor there.
Mhm.
I'm talking about a stone, column, or,
Pier?
pier.
Sort of mimicking this.
Well, no, just.
No, just a pier.
a brick
Oh,
pier.
okay. I get you
Yeah.
right. Just the paneling below here.
Just a
Right.
pier.
Yeah. Yep. Got it. That makes sense.
That makes sense, yep.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
whether it's necessary to add the one on the corner, maybe that is, more board and not pier.
where's that, Angus?
He's
Oh, right,
saying
where
to the
your
far
cursor-
left of that. So that if that had been infilled, they would have just infilled it with like Dura rock and put board on top of it as opposed to had a structural pier there.
Right.
It would kind of create a little story of development.
Kind of mimicking what's on the far right side in that south elevation where it's the pier for the structure, but then boarding underneath what, the
What
addition.
about if we're really talking about these piers as structural supports, which, of course they are and should be. This is a pretty long span without a pier. Do we want this middle one here just to kind of fill that in a little?
That stood out to me originally, and that's what made me think, well, wait, is that how it would look? But yeah, that's how I kind of got to the the pier being closer in, but I agree with you, Mickey. It seems like a very long span without visible structure.
I guess ditto here,
Yeah, also then on the west.
probably all around. Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense if we're going with that story. All right.
Okay.
I think that's it. Anybody else have any comments? Jason, did you want to say anything?
Because I missed most of it. Sorry, I'm not going to make a comment. I'm fine with it. I just don't know what you all said. So.
Okay, thanks. All right, thanks, Lisa.
Okay, I have one more, which is this,
Oh, next one, yep.
yeah, this was something that was actually submitted a long time ago as batten board. That was before a building and landscaping went in place. So we are just brought this back as old business. I'm trying to find my file.
Yeah, we didn't get any drawings of this, so
I don't think there are any, it's only photos because
Is this the building we're talking about, or is it behind this building?
it's behind that building. And that's the point, to say that you won't see it.
Okay. And this is the building or?
That's the building,
Okay, so this
but
is the one,
it's the face that's facing towards those dormers on the right.
Oh, okay.
So it's facing into the property. And before, when I came before, that big garage was not built. Neither was this building that's covered in green. But now both those structures are built. So we wanted to come back so that you can look at it from the perspective of lack of visibility.
so what is it that you're really asking for here?
That face that faces into the yard, we wanted it to be batten board.
Right here, this sort of edge.
Yes, exactly.
And it's
And the only
facing
place,
back.
yeah, there should be another picture taken from North Water Street or North Beach Street, excuse me.
Yeah.
The closer up one.
Now, is this gonna be board and batten too?
Not the gable end, just the face that faces into the property.
Which is on the opposite side or the side?
Which is right there where your cursor is.
Okay.
I mean, you guys can drive down there and take a look if you want to, but it felt like, once all the landscaping got done and once all the architecture got built in that area, that this elevation would be invisible.
I'm a little confused because it looks like it's an eve in one picture and it's a gable in another. Like to the right in this picture is
Oh,
a
that's,
gable.
that's
in-
the, no, but that's the, a piece of the building that sticks forward of the section that we're looking at. You know what, let me share my screen and pull up the drawings. I apologize. We didn't include the drawings and we probably should have, just because it was old business and we just wanted to give you the new, let me find it.
I'm glad you're here to help with the visual. Thanks.
Well, I'm sorry it wasn't that clear. Let's see. Rec barn gym. So these are probably the drawings. And then share screen. Okay, so here's the site plan. This building had not been built. Now it is built. That is the gable you're seeing, Angus, from Wall Street.
Yeah, okay.
This is the face. That is batten board. Everything else is shingled.
And this is the exercise pavilion or something?
Yeah, it's a rec barn.
And is this gonna be natural to weather?
It's gray, it's not white, it's not oh, the batten board is natural to weather, and the trim on the building, we didn't paint it the same color as the other buildings on the property, which are all white. We left it's gray. She wanted to look like a building that had been there and didn't want it to be part of the compound, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't look terribly like it's gonna be visible. Is this the side, you're also proposing this side too?
No, but I think what happened is, I just pulled up something, it wasn't approved that way, I think it was a staff approval without the batten board on any of the elevations.
Mhm.
So we were okay shingling the other elevations and just having the batten board on the
Mhm.
one that faces into the lot. So that's all we're asking for.
Okay,
Is you can call it the north, south, east elevation of the main gable of that building.
right. I mean, I'm still, I'm still generally opposed to almost all the board and battens we see at the HDC, just because there was never very many board and batten buildings on the island. I mean, historically, a few sheds or barns, but never big buildings. So I just don't see a precedent for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only reason you would be able to approve this one is lack of visibility.
Right.
It's an interior into a lot that's not visible from any place, given the lot. I mean, you might see it, I'm gonna say that you might see it, peripherally or briefly if you were to drive down that circle in the winter and look in there, but
Mhm.
for most of that public, in terms of coming off of North Beach Street, you're on North Beach Street, you're not going into that, whatever that development is. It's at such a distance, you'd have to really look for it.
How tall is that section of the building?
Okay, sorry, I closed it. Hang on. I think it's 19 or 20 feet. No, let's see, sorry, that section is 24 feet.
But the
But
sidewall,
it's the eave side.
Yeah.
So the amount of batten you're seeing is not 24 feet, it's, 14.
So would there be one continuous planks?
You mean top to bottom?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, personally, I like board and batten and I like seeing them on barns, but I think it's out of place in this location, in this setting, being attached to the other buildings. And I think that consistency is important. I think it's weird to have, all but one face be a different material. So.
Again, I think the only reason we did that and we're suggesting that is because the other three faces are clearly visible. And I wasn't getting approval to get those as board and batten.
Mhm.
I mean, that was clear. So we shingled the other three.
So I guess I would I'd recommend that it's, matches the other sides. As much as I like board and batten, it seems inconsistent with the other finishes of the house and in the surrounding area.
I'll agree with that one, Angus.
I agree with it too. I mean, I love Board and Batten. I love Barnes. I own one, but I just think the Brand Point area is not a good location.
Mhm. Jason, thoughts?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. All right, I think you get the general gist there, Lisa.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, one more. Orange Street, what's the number? 30 Orange Street.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. We still don't have any like old historic photos about showing.
Yeah, there was one on the NHA website that I pulled up last time and looked at. That the original roof walk I noticed is gone.
Really?
Yeah. It was yesterday anyway.
Oh, you mean on the building now it's gone?
Yeah,
They've taken it down.
yep.
So, this is a series showing, this is a sketch. I'm not sure what we can really glean from this. It doesn't really show it very well. 1950s, it shows basically this design hasn't changed. You can't really tell the details. And I think really all we're talking about now are the details. I'm not sure there's much discussion about whether these should be paneled or balustered. And I guess the last time we looked at this, we didn't have any of these photographs that I was aware of, and all we could see what was they must have just taken down, which was this protruding post. And our comments reflected that concept that the railing should continue to be sort of post to post and not a continuous flat railing all around the whole roof walk. And I'm pretty ambivalent about it at this point. It's hard to back here. It doesn't look like in 94 even that the posts protruded. You can't tell in 68, and in the 50s, it actually sort of looks straight across here. So I don't have a big opinion either way on this one. Does anybody want to, Angus?
Not having panels makes it feel really boxy. So I think that's actually an improvement. And if you look in the 94 picture on the left side, yeah, you can see a little bit of something, whether it's just a baseboard, around the column area, but there's something breaking that up, but it feels really heavy, not being broken up. I'm with you. I'm kind of ambivalent about, whether the rail stops, and breaks at each post. But the older photos, it's hard to tell. It doesn't look like there really were posts sticking up above the rail.
It doesn't, not back in 94, and the others, it sort of looks kind of the same in the 50s.
So I think I'm okay with what's proposed.
Yeah, but so now we have that's the roof walk, and we have the porch to talk about too. So who knows when this was put on? Does anybody?
Yes, in the NHA website, I just looked up. There's an old postcard photograph. It says 1920s, 1930s, and it shows the ironwork railing like that.
Okay.
I think it should stay.
I kind of do too. I mean, if they were to ask for it today, I'm not sure I'd like it, but it sort of has this old feel to it.
Well,
I don't
this
know
is,
how old the stone is. I mean, this almost looks like it's been rebuilt. The stone doesn't look that old.
Didn't we review this last time? I mean, what's changed?
Nothing has changed. I think they just wanted to get more information. I don't know what's actually changed. They do. What are they showing us? Revised roof walk cap and panel detail.
I just think that what they're proposing is massive. It's blocky. This is a very formal house. As I told everybody when it first came up, I lived in this house for a summer.
Mhm.
And you walk up the front stoop, you walk in, and you go straight through the living room, out onto that massive porch, and you have a full-on view of the harbor.
Mhm.
It's a very formal house. I mean, it's got a front parlor, a middle parlor, and then a huge living room. And I think that the curved ironwork adds some grace to it. You've got that huge door surround and everything. And to add on to that, this chunky stuff entry in, I just think it's too much.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Lucy. I don't, what was originally there? I mean, the photograph that was supplied with this. I don't know if it's in this package or not. Show, well, this was up on this, if this is it, it's hard to imagine, but this is up on
No,
this.
I don't know what that's in there for.
Nothing looks like this building.
That's not it. That's not even the right location, because this house is exactly at the top of the hill.
And it's set so far back. What's the lower picture?
That's the back side. That's the Union
Oh,
Street
that doesn't
side.
help.
The Union Street side. Here you can see that the two lots on Union Street were developed, I think, in the 80s.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yep. I actually went sledding down that hill.
A good one. So
But he has not submitted the photograph from the NHA website.
do you have that?
I have, I don't know how to screen share.
Yeah. Okay.
But
But
if the existing masonry and iron rail is 110 years old, I mean, and it's part of the evolution, it just doesn't seem appropriate to remove it for whatever the trend is for the moment.
Mhm.
This is dated 1920s or the 1930s. So either way, it's well over 50 years.
There's that oval window, towards the left side on the Orange Street facade. And then there's this fan light. There's some curves that are introduced that I believe that the porch responds to and is missed in the new proposal.
We do also have other similar stair entries on houses a little bit further away, but on Main Street.
Yes.
The iron
That
rail.
are, it could be late 19th century. Who knows, I think it should stay. I don't
Yeah.
think
There is
I don't
ironwork at what's the restaurant? Is it Proprietors? It's right across from the India Street little pocket park.
right.
Mhm.
There's
There's-
even, isn't there ironwork on that house that's on the corner of Fair and Main? That's a kind of across from Eliza Starbuck Barney house, the blue house, Pacific Bank. So there is some,
Mhm. And there's also some further up Main from the bank on that side,
Yeah.
the big brick house on the corner of which.
And-
Close to
And
the-
they put in new ironwork where the Roberts house was.
Okay, yeah, so certainly there's a precedent for ironwork, and here it is. So this has been here for at least, 100 years probably. Okay, so I think we're thinking that this should remain.
Yes.
Okay,
I think it's
Alright.
unanimous.
yeah, sounds like it. All right. think we're done. Any other thoughts? I did write to Ray and to Holly to try to get them to, you know what? Hang on one second. Hey, Tori, are you on here? I see your name on the participant list. Because she's the one that submitted 71 Orange. Tori?
She's gone.
She's still
Oh, wait, no, she's still here.
Yeah, but she's not responding. All right. Anyway, all right. So I haven't heard back from Holly regarding getting Mary, to fill Brooke's spot. So I think we'll just have to keep trying. So, all right. How about a motion to accept the minutes
Yes.
from Lucy, seconded by Angus?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
All right.
Aye. And motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Second.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mickey.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
Goodbye.
See ya. Bye, Diane.
Bye.